Hey, my name is Shanice, so you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at This is Shanice. Also, I have an Instagram where I post stories where you can see my awesome, amazing, ordinary life here in Shanghai. Sometimes if I talk to him about black issues, he's like, he can't really connect as much. So
Expose them to both cultures. My experience, at least, like Asian Americans, the ones who have bigger identity issues are the ones who weren't really exposed to Chinese culture.
He has a Hong Kong citizenship, so that makes it basically China treats both of us like we're foreigners in terms of like things you can do, because his grandma seems to be like the most warm when it.
Yes, welcome back again to another episode of Living in China. It's your host King Kwesi. See me on this channel, you know we are ready for another interesting conversation of expats and foreigners living and working in China. In today's episode, we are going to talk to beautiful Shanice and her boyfriend Terry in the city of Shanghai. Interracial marriage is a pure example of peace, love, and harmony. Love knows no race. You can be Chinese, you can be American, you can be an African, you can be from the Latin America and still fall in love with a person from a different background. It is accepted. In our world now, pure beauty can also be seen in interracial couples of marriage. I think you agree with me that we have friends and loved ones that have married or been in a relationship outside their race. It's a very common phenomenon around the world now. In today's episode, we are going to sit down with these beautiful couples to share their life experience of interracial relationship in the city of Shanghai. If you are watching this video now, like the video, subscribe if you are new to this channel, and turn on the post notification button to be notified every time I upload a new video on this channel. Please share this video with a friend and tell a friend about Blessing's word. I know you're ready now. Let's go talk to them. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Shanice, and I am from North Carolina in the US.
Hi, I'm Terry, and I was born in the US, but then I grew up in Hong Kong and in Singapore, and now I live in Shanghai.
So how do you guys meet?
Well, we met on an app called WeChat. So WeChat is an app that like literally everyone uses in China. It's kind of like WhatsApp plus Facebook plus Twitter. It's like, and plus, you know, also like people use it to spend for like their goods and stuff. So we're both vegan, so we met in a vegan group.
A vegan group. Yeah, I started a vegan WeChat group with my friend in 2016, and so he joined the group and he added. I think you added her too, right? You added me and Sunita.
Yeah, I think I added both.
He added both of us because we're like the admins of the group, and he wanted help on how to transition to being vegan. So we just, I don't know. I saw him too much.
we talked quite a lot.
We talked a lot.
One thing led to another, and then
You did not say one thing led to another.
yeah, so we just ended up getting together.
How long you been dating?
5 years.
5 years. And since February 3rd,
Yeah.
recently, we
A bit
celebrated.
longer than 5 years.
A bit longer than 5 years.
Like by a few days.
Yeah.
We celebrated our anniversary on February 3rd.
So who made the first move?
It was kind of mutual. It wasn't really.
Was it?
It was relatively mutual.
It was sort of mutual. I think I was developing feelings for him that I didn't realize that I had, but neither one of us was saying it out loud, and then it just
Happened.
developed.
How does it feel to be in interracial marriage in a country like China?
I mean, I feel like, you know, especially like in Shanghai, it's less of a deal because there's so many foreigners here. If you go to other places in China, I feel like we'd get like more attention on the street and stuff. But honestly, it's pretty good.
In the beginning, I remember there were a lot of stairs, like a lot. And I was actually asking him this recently. I was like, I feel like we don't get as many stairs as we do. I don't know if it's because I'm used to the stairs, I've like blocked them out, or if people don't care. Because it's been 5 years and China changes rapidly, let alone Shanghai. So I don't know. I think he said it was the same.
It's probably
I'm just not
combination of the two, actually. I don't really know. At first, I was more self-conscious as well, but you get used to it, and then yeah, maybe people stare less now, because yeah, things change pretty fast around here.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't make a big deal of it, then it doesn't really, at least for me, you don't make a big deal of it, then it doesn't really seem like such a big deal. People won't make a big deal.
Yeah, especially in the city center, no one cares if they see a
They're on their
foreigner.
phone. They like see you and I'm like,
And they see so many
oh.
foreigners.
Yeah.
It's like in some areas, it's like it's filled with foreigners. So people living there, they're really used to foreigners by now.
But actually, now that I think about it, some people don't think we're dating.
Yeah, some people don't.
So
think
they
we're
might
dating,
just
so-
think we're just like he's
Walking.
my translator.
Yeah, maybe.
All
I
right,
need a pay
Terry.
raise.
All right, Terry. Was it difficult to introduce her to your family?
No, not at all. So, no, not at all. At first, I was a bit scared, but my mom reacted really positively. I was most scared with my grandma because I didn't know how she would react, but then she reacted really positively, so that was good. And she basically treats her like a Chinese, like, granddaughter-in-law, so that's good.
What about your parents?
Yeah, my mom reacted pretty positively as well. So, and the thing is, like, I wasn't expecting my mom to react that, like, you know, strongly because she lived in the U.S. for quite a long time herself. So that was never really much of an issue.
Oh, how was the family's reaction when they met you for the first time?
I didn't really remember any specific response. It was sort of just like, oh, there's an American here. Like, for me, I feel like they cared more about whether or not I could speak Chinese. I think that was the biggest thing because a lot of them can't speak English. And I feel like, I don't know, weren't they like talking to you and you had to keep telling them like she knows Chinese? I feel like I remember that happening. And like his grandma as well. I find it funny that he says he's most worried about his grandma because his grandma seems to be like the most warm when it comes to me, like constantly giving me snacks and like she'll comment about my weight, like, oh, you look so healthy, or sometimes she'll be like, oh, you're too skinny, you need to eat more. Just very grandmother, like she treats me like I'm her granddaughter, like he just said. But yeah.
What is the strength of your relationship?
A strength. We're both vegan.
Yeah, we're both vegan.
So we have like similar morals, like when it comes to animals. Like we're both like, I guess we're kind of rescuers.
Yeah. And then we're both bilingual, so it's easy
that's
to
right.
relate on a lot of
We're
levels.
bilingual, yeah.
Like if there's like a story in Chinese or something, I can bring it up and she'll understand. If it's like something that happened in the West or like some story in English, it's also really easy to relate. So that's a really good thing.
That's true.
In as much as we had a strength, I know there are challenges. What has been some of the challenges that you guys go through in your relationship, being in an interracial?
I feel like our challenges are probably similar to like a lot of other people. I don't think like us being of different cultures is too challenging.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that it's too challenging.
I mean, I guess sometimes if I talk to him about black issues, he's like, he can't really connect as much. So that, I mean, I feel like all black people have that issue, like talking to a partner like about cultural appropriation, and they're like, I don't get it. But I feel like that's changed a bit because it's like the longer you're in a relationship, you kind of start to understand those things that you don't understand as much. But and sometimes he'll talk to me about Chinese culture, like Chinese historical figures, and I don't know what he's talking about, and he's like, how do you not know this person? Like, it's the biggest. And I'm like, I don't know, I didn't learn that in school. So maybe stuff like that. I can't
Yeah,
really...
but the thing is, like, we know, like, we're pretty knowledgeable of each other's cultures, so there wasn't that much to get over. I feel like there'd be a bigger gap if it was like her with a Chinese guy, you know, who maybe never had been to the US.
That would be...
Yeah, that would be a bigger challenge probably.
What is the future for you guys?
What's the future, Terry?
I feel like we basically act like we're married now, so yeah.
People
Like-
assume we're married. Like, I've had people be like, oh, your Chinese husband. I'm like, I don't have a... But because of COVID, it's kind of complicated because he does not have a Chinese ID, like mainland Chinese citizenship, however you say that in English. It's 身份证 in Chinese. He has a Hong Kong citizenship. So that makes it basically, China treats both of us like we're foreigners in terms of like things you can do. So in terms of marriage, I don't know how recently, but you're not allowed to get, I shouldn't say you're not allowed, but they made it so foreigners cannot really get married in China anymore. So that's been more complicated because like we want to get married. I think we have to go to Hong Kong. I'm not sure. I'm trying to get...
Yeah, it seems like we have to.
It seems like we have to go to Hong Kong. And because China's zero COVID, that would mean when we go to Hong Kong, we have to quarantine for 14 days. Then we have to do whatever we need to do there. Then when we come back, we have to quarantine for another 14 days. So I have to be like, all right, is it worth 28 days of my life in a room to sign
some papers.
So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that COVID-0 kind of like wanes out, or at least they open the borders between mainland China and Hong Kong. That would be great. I really don't want to quarantine for 14 days, but I think numbers are going back up.
Yeah, in Hong Kong it's getting worse, so probably not.
Anyway, that's in terms of signing papers, but yeah, we're basically married. So.
Do you guys intend to have kids in the future?
We don't know yet.
We don't know. I mean, I've told him, like, for me, one thing is like now I just don't feel like I'm ready to have kids. In terms of like money and and then we have to think about, is it going to be in China? You know, are we going to raise kids in China? Because I have to think about the education system here. But it's mostly money.
Yeah,
it's mainly money. Like if I were to put my kids in an international school in Shanghai, it's ridiculously expensive. It's basically like putting them in an upper end private school in the US, or like a boarding school. So.
Yeah. And I'm not really in a rush to have kids, so.
He's definitely not in a rush. I'm not in a rush. He's like in less of a rush than I am. So. But yeah, maybe one day. We have our dogs though. We have our 3 dogs. So.
Much easier to manage.
They're our kids for now.
So if you guys have kids in the future, how do you intend to protect the kid? Because the kid is coming from different backgrounds, and the kid's gonna growing up having this kind of mixed identity. How do you guys intend to protect your kids in the future if you have one?
Well, expose them. Sorry, you can answer.
No, you can go
Expose
first.
them to both cultures. I honestly think if they get exposed to both cultures, you don't really have as much of a. From my experience, at least, like Asian Americans, the ones who have bigger identity issues are the ones who weren't really exposed to Chinese culture. So then they're kind of like in a culture which doesn't fully accept them, but at the same time they don't really know their mother, like, you know, their parents' culture. So it becomes like this huge like back and forth. But whereas for like ABCs, so Asian born American born Chinese, who have a lot of exposure to their Chinese culture, they don't typically have that much of an identity crisis. Like, okay, like for example, everyone's been talking about, the skier Eileen Gu. Like her Chinese is basically really close to native level. So someone like her, it's just much less likely for her to have an identity crisis.
Yeah, I agree. Because for me, like he has experience with Asian born Chinese. I've experience with like mixed black and white kids. And I do agree that part of it would just be the exposure. And what I was telling him is I noticed that if the mother was black, the kids the ones I knew, they tended to identify more with black. And the ones who had a white mother, they tended to identify more with white culture. And I think that just might be because the mother tends to have more interaction with the kids. First of all, if the father is the one who's working. And the second one is they seem to be the ones who are kind of they're guiding the kids and in terms of their future. So I would I've always said that the kids need to be exposed to both. Like I don't want my kid being like, oh, I don't really feel black, or I don't really feel Chinese. It should be like, if you get enough exposure to both sides. So one issue would be living in China, right? If you like grow up seeing mostly Chinese people, you're exposed to mostly Chinese culture. So that would probably be more of a challenge on my end to like give them a black experience as, you know, a black mother living in China. So I don't know, I'd find some type of support system to help me with that, so that way I can get them more exposed to black people here in Shanghai.
Do you have a community of people in similar situation in Shanghai?
Well, we know some foreigners, but specifically like interracial couples, not really.
Black and Asian specifically, I don't really know. I was in a group that was like, I think it was like Western women, Asian men. I don't even remember why I got in that group. I think because I needed help with like some of the marriage stuff, but none of them, like all of their partners are mainland Chinese. They're not Hong Kong. So I'm like kind of a minority in a minority. But in terms of, Black and Asian, no. There must be one out there, right? There's like so many WeChat groups. I would have to look. I think if we were thrown in a position where I had to raise kids, I would find it, because even like black groups, there's like we have crazy meetups. Like there's so many who come out. So they're here. Just gotta find them. Probably in the foreign family circles. Could probably talk to them.
What is your advice for people who are also willing to be in this form of relationship? What is an advice that you're going to give them?
Like if they want to be in a black Chinese relationship. First I'd be like, that's weird. And the second thing I would say is, I mean, I would phrase it like, if you want to be closer to Chinese culture and learn more about the people and get more intimate with the culture, learn the language, learn the culture, come to China. That would be my advice, and people will, if you're more willing to learn about the language, the culture, the people, it'll be easier for you to connect with people. So I'll put it that way. That's definitely, because a lot of foreigners, especially in Shanghai, they come here not interested in the culture, not interested in the language. So if you know the language, you will stand out 100%.
Terry?
Yeah, similar advice, and just be open-minded, I guess, and also be prepared for cultural differences. Don't expect it to be exactly the same as like a relationship with someone in your home country. So there's that.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks for having us.